The Sykes-Picot Agreement is a secret treaty between France and the United Kingdom with the approval of the Russian Empire and Italy to divide the region of Greater Syria and Iraq, also known as the Levant and Mesopotamia, or the Fertile Crescent, between France and Britain, to define spheres of influence in West Asia and the Arab East, and to dismantle the Ottoman Empire, which had fallen into the hands of Turkish fanatics and nationalists who allied with Europe and Zionism, and who turned against the Ottoman Caliphate under the leadership of Sultan Abdul Hamid II, and oppressed the Arab people of the region and tried to Turkify the region. The Ottoman Empire was still in control of that region in the First World War, despite its weakness and defeat. This agreement was signed in 1916, and it is considered a curse on the Syrian and Iraqi nation from that time until today. The agreement was based on the premise that the Triple Entente, Russian, British, and French, would succeed in defeating and dismantling the Ottoman Empire during World War I. This agreement was part of a series of secret agreements through which these countries hoped to partition the last non-nationalist Islamic state and overthrow the Caliphate, which had lasted for 1,300 years. The initial negotiations leading to the agreement took place between November 23, 1915, and January 3, 1916. On that date, French diplomat François-Georges Picot and British diplomat Mark Sykes signed the Memoranda of Understanding between the foreign ministries of France, Britain, and Tsarist Russia. The governments of these countries ratified the agreement on May 9 and 16, 1916. According to this agreement, new names emerged in the region, creating new states that fragmented the two great empires that were the cradle of human civilization, Iraq and the Levant. France's share of the Levant encompassed what is now Lebanon, Syria, and southeastern Turkey, extending as far as Sivas and west of Mersin, in addition to the northeastern part of Iraq. Mosul, Erbil, and even the Iranian border were initially under French control, but France ceded these territories to Britain in subsequent agreements. Thus, France had effectively controlled all of Greater Syria, from Sivas in the far north, located in central Turkey today, along a southwestern axis 150 kilometers west of Mersin on the Mediterranean coast, eastward to the present-day Turkish-Iranian border, and southward to what is now the borders of Syria, Iraq, and Jordan, extending to the present-day border between Lebanon and Palestine on the Mediterranean coast. France's sphere of influence included the areas known today as Lebanon, Syria, and Jordan, as well as the border between Lebanon and Palestine on the Mediterranean coast. France ceded to Britain what is now known as the Kingdom of Jordan, the State of Palestine, and the Republic of Iraq, as well as part of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia up to Al-Aqsa. The holy sites in Palestine were to remain under international administration. As mentioned, Britain's borders extended from the Mediterranean Sea in the northwest, encompassing the area that represents the border between Lebanon and Palestine to the south, along the entire southern Mediterranean coastline up to the Gulf of Aqaba in the southwest, and from the Gulf of Aqaba to the city of Al-Aqsa in Saudi Arabia in the southeast, reaching as far as Mosul and the present-day border between Iran and Iraq in the northeast. The agreement effectively divided the Ottoman Arab provinces outside the Arabian Peninsula into areas controlled or influenced by Britain and France. As a result of the Sazonov-Paleolog Agreement, Russia was to receive western Armenia, in addition to Constantinople and the Turkish Straits already promised under the Treaty of Constantinople, 1915. Italy accepted this agreement in 1917 through the Treaty of Saint-Jean-de-Maurienne, thus gaining control of southern Anatolia. Many view the agreement as a turning point in Western Arab relations. The United Kingdom reneged on its promises to the Arabs, represented by the Hashemites under Sharif Hussein and his sons, regarding an Arab national homeland in Greater Syria, in exchange for their support against the Ottoman Empire. The terms of the agreement were exposed after the Bolsheviks seized power in Russia on November 23, 1917, and reiterated in the British newspaper The Guardian on November 26, 1917, where it was reported that the British were embarrassed, the Arabs were upset, and the Turks were delighted. The legacy of the agreement casts a shadow on current conflicts in the region. Articles of the Agreement. Article 1. France and Great Britain are prepared to recognize and protect an Arab state headed by an Arab president in Zones A, interior Syria, and Zones B, interior Iraq, as shown on the map attached to this agreement. France shall have priority in Zone A and England in Zone B regarding local projects and loans. France in Zone A and England in Zone B shall have the exclusive right to provide foreign advisors and officials at the request of the Arab government or the Confederation of Arab Governments. Article 2. France in the Blue Zone, coastal Syria, and England in the Red Zone, the Basra region, are permitted to establish whatever form of government they desire, directly or indirectly, or to exercise oversight after reaching an agreement with the Arab government or the Confederation of Arab Governments. Article 3. An international administration shall be established in the Brown Zone, Palestine. Its form shall be determined after consultation with Russia and in agreement with the other allies and the representatives of the Sharif of Mecca. Article 4. England shall acquire the ports of Haifa and Acre. A limited quantity of water from the Tigris and Euphrates rivers in Zone A is guaranteed to Zone B. His Majesty's government undertakes not to cede the island of Cyprus in any negotiations with another power without the prior consent of the French government. Article 5. Alexandretta shall be a free port for the trade of the British Empire. No differential treatment shall be applied to port charges and no special facilities shall be granted to British shipping and goods. The free transit of English goods through Alexandretta and the railway in the Blue Zone shall be permitted, whether destined for or originating from the Red Zone or Zones A and B, no differential treatment whatsoever, directly or indirectly, shall be made to British goods or vessels on any of the railways or in any of the aforementioned ports. Article 6. The Baghdad Railway shall not be extended in Zone A beyond Mosul to the south, nor in Zone B beyond Samarra to the north, until a railway line connecting Baghdad to Aleppo via the Euphrates Valley is constructed with the assistance of both governments. Article 7. Great Britain shall have the right to construct, operate, and be the sole owner of a railway line connecting Haifa to Area B, and shall also have the permanent right to transport troops at any time along this line. Both governments shall understand that this line must facilitate communication between Haifa and Baghdad, and that if technical difficulties or excessive operating costs prevent the construction of the line in Area B, the French government shall permit its passage via the route of Barboura, Qais, Malqa, Idar, Gusta, Magair, until it reaches Area B. Article 8. The Turkish customs tariff shall remain in effect for 20 years in all parts of the blue and red zones in areas A and B. No additional duties shall be added, nor shall the basis for assessing duties be changed to a system of in-kind assessment, except by agreement between the two governments. No internal customs duties shall be established between any two zones within the aforementioned areas. Customs duties levied on shipped goods shall be paid at the port and remitted to the administration of the zone to which the goods are destined. It is agreed that the French government shall not at any time negotiate the relinquishment of its rights, nor shall it cede its rights in the Blue Zone to any other state except the state or alliance of Arab states without the prior consent of His Majesty's government, which undertakes a similar commitment to the French government in the Red Zone. Article 10. The British and French governments, as protectors of the Arab state, agree that they will not possess nor permit any third power to possess territories in the Arabian Peninsula or establish a naval base on the eastern Mediterranean coast. This does not preclude any adjustment to the borders of Aden that may become necessary due to recent Turkish hostility. Article 11. Negotiations with the Arabs shall continue in the same manner as before by the two governments to determine the borders of the Arab state or confederation. Article 12. It is agreed without further mention that the two governments will consider the necessary means to control the importation of arms into the Arab states. Post-Sykes-Picot. After the collapse of the Ottoman Empire and Britain's control over Palestine and Iraq, Britain abandoned the idea of dividing the Sultanate's possessions according to the Sykes-Picot Agreement and replaced it with the mandate system approved by the San Remo Conference, which it held with France on April 26, 1920, with the aim of determining the fate of the occupied Levant provinces. With the end of World War I, practically nothing remained of the Sykes-Picot Agreement except the initial demarcation of the borders of Lebanon, Iraq, Jordan, and Palestine. French and British colonialism remained dominant in the Levant until the outbreak of World War II in 1939, wielding the mandate authority granted to it by the League of Nations in the London Conference of 1922. With exceptions for Yemen, Saudi Arabia, and Jordan. Egypt and Iraq were bound to Britain by treaties that effectively limited their independence until the monarchies in both countries were overthrown in 1952 and 1958, respectively. As the global influence of the French and British empires declined in favor of the United States and the Soviet Union, Britain moved in the 1960s and 1970s to dismantle its presence in the Arabian Peninsula. It withdrew from Kuwait in 1965 and from the Aden Protectorate in 1967, followed by similar arrangements in Muscat and Oman 1970, Qatar, the UAE, and Bahrain 1972. Since then, the borders of the Arab Levant countries have remained largely unchanged until the unification of Yemen in 1990. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell icon to receive all the latest updates.